Welcome to the Forgotten Press, where we uncover the stories behind the headlines history forgot. I'm Amber, and today we're diving into a story that's been waiting to be told. In Part 1, a treatment called Autolysin made national headlines. In Part 2, the medical establishment destroyed it, but the question no one asked was why. $7.5 million from the Rockefeller family funded every brick at Cornell Medical College, and that money came with conditions. This is Part 3. Follow the money. November 2nd, 1913. 2 years before Silas Beebe was fired from Cornell. 2 years before anyone had heard the word Autolysin, the Sun published a headline that explains everything that came after. $1.5 million for doctors to abandon private practice. $1.5 million. From the Rockefeller family's General Education Board to Johns Hopkins University. And the condition attached to that money was simple. Professors were required to, and this is the exact language, withdraw completely from private practice. That was the model. And the General Education Board enforced it at every medical school it funded, including Cornell. By January of 1914, the board had, in its own words, conditionally contributed about $7,500,000 to institutions of learning. The word that matters in that sentence is conditionally. Schools had to meet the board's conditions to receive and retain their funding. This was not philanthropy. This was institutional control. To understand why Cornell fired Beebe, you have to go back 5 years earlier, to 1910, and to a man named Abraham Flexner. The Carnegie Foundation hired Flexner to evaluate every medical school in North America. He visited 155 schools, and the report he published, known simply as the Flexner Report, led to the closure of approximately 80% of all homeopathic, naturopathic, eclectic, and alternative medical schools in the country. This was not an accident. Flexner's stated goal, according to published accounts, was to antagonize non-biomedical approaches. He couldn't find a legal way to shut them down, so he used the report to destroy their credibility instead. Now here's the detail that ties this directly to Autolysin. Abraham Flexner wrote the report. His brother, Simon Flexner, was the director of the Rockefeller Institute and had been since 1901. The same Simon Flexner who told the press he knew nothing about Autolysin in 1915. And by December of 1914, 1 year before Beebe was fired, Abraham Flexner was on the staff of the Rockefeller General Education Board, personally overseeing $15.8 million in distributions to medical schools. The man who wrote the report that closed alternative medicine was now controlling the money that decided which schools survived. And who was funding Cornell? In November of 1913, Colonel Oliver Payne, a Standard Oil millionaire with a fortune exceeding $50 million, gave more than $4 million to endow Cornell University Medical College. Payne was part of Rockefeller's inner circle. Combined with the General Education Board's $7.5 million, Cornell was entirely dependent on Rockefeller's circle money. When Dean William Polk fired Beebe in October of 1915, Cornell wasn't making an independent scientific judgment. It was protecting its funding. In 1906, 2 Cornell researchers published a groundbreaking paper. They showed, for the first time, that a type of cancer in dogs could be transmitted from one animal to another. It was considered a landmark in cancer research. The 2 authors were James Ewing and Silas P. Beebe, collaborators, colleagues, working side by side at Cornell. Their paths would cross again. In 1913, Ewing co-founded the American Society for the Control of Cancer, the ASCC, which later became the American Cancer Society. The initial funding came from John D. Rockefeller, Jr. 2 Rockefeller attorneys remained in the organization's administration for years. The ASCC became the primary organization in America responsible for policing what it called cancer quackery, the same label that would be applied to Autolysin. By 1912, Ewing was the pathologist at Memorial Hospital. By 1913, he was president of its medical board. Memorial Hospital was renamed in 1916 to focus exclusively on cancer. It would eventually become Memorial Sloan Kettering, one of the most powerful cancer institutions on Earth. And its gatekeeper was James Ewing, Beebe's former collaborator, now the man who decided what counted as legitimate cancer research and what didn't. And here is what Dean Polk said when he fired Beebe. The real reason for asking for Dr. Beebe's resignation was the commercial attitude taken by himself in connection with the exploitation of Autolysin. Cornell Medical School not only does not want on its faculty a physician interested in the commercial exploitation of any treatment of any kind, it will not allow it. It will not allow it. Those are the words of a man enforcing a policy, not making a scientific argument. James Ewing did not only destroy Autolysin. There was another doctor at Memorial Hospital named William B. Coley. Coley had been treating cancer patients since the 1890s using bacterial injections, what he called Coley's toxins. It was, in modern terms, immunotherapy. He treated over 1,000 patients. When Ewing gained control of Memorial's medical board, he systematically marginalized Coley's work. He championed radiation therapy and restricted Coley's access to cancer patients. 2 doctors, 2 non-radiation cancer treatments, both pushed out by the same man at the same institution. And modern oncology acknowledges what happened next. The suppression of Coley's immunotherapy research set the entire field back by approximately 50 years. The treatments that are saving lives today, checkpoint inhibitors, CAR T therapy, are the intellectual descendants of the work that James Ewing buried. College objects to doctors' exploitation of Autolysin and ends his department. And then there was the professional society. The American Society for Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics didn't just question Beebe's results. They accused him of knowingly making false statements on a scientific subject. Knowingly making false statements. Not, we disagree with his conclusions. Not, the data is inconclusive. They said he lied, on purpose, about science. That charge ended his professional standing permanently. Now step back. Look at the full picture. Cornell University Medical College, where Beebe was fired. Funded by the Rockefeller General Education Board, $7.5 million. Memorial Hospital, where Ewing controlled cancer research. Funded by Rockefeller, Jr. began $60,000 annual contributions by 1927. The ASCC, the organization that policed cancer quackery, co-founded by Ewing, funded by Rockefeller Jr. The General Education Board, which required doctors to abandon private practice, a Rockefeller organization, Abraham Flexner on staff. The Journal of the American Medical Association, which published Weil's counterstudy, the establishment's journal of record. Every single institution that touched the Autolysin story was connected to Rockefeller money, the university that fired Beebe, the hospital that became the center of cancer research, the society that labeled the treatment quackery, the funding board that made private practice a firing offense. Is this a conspiracy? That word gets thrown around too easily, but what we can say, based on the documented record, is that a system existed. A system funded by one family, and every piece of that system moved in the same direction at the same time against the same treatment. Whether it was coordinated or not, the result was the same. Richard Weil, the man who published the Journal of the American Medical Association study that destroyed Autolysin, died in 1917. He was 41 years old. He'd been the 3rd president of the American Association of Immunologists. His wife was Minnie Strauss, the daughter of Isidore Strauss, the co-owner of Macy's department store who died on the Titanic. And when they buried Richard Weil, look who carried the coffin. William M. Polk, the dean who fired Beebe. William B. Coley, the immunotherapy pioneer Ewing also destroyed. Rufus Cole, director of the Rockefeller Institute. The dean, the suppressed doctor, the Rockefeller director, all in one room, all honoring the man whose study gave them the scientific cover to bury a cancer treatment. Beebe published his angry response to Weil in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 1918, 3 years after being fired. He accused Weil of willfully misrepresenting the data and not acting solely from good motives. But Weil was already dead, and no one was listening. Beebe went on to practice medicine quietly at 417 Park Avenue. In 1919, he was still working with serums. By 1926, a newspaper mentioned that his hobby was making violins. He'd restored a 300-year-old Maggini violin. Beebe died in 1930. The American Association for Cancer Research, the organization he helped found, has a portrait of him in their records. On January 12, 1931, 1 year after Beebe's death, James Ewing appeared on the cover of Time magazine. The headline called him Cancer Man Ewing. He was the undisputed authority on cancer in America. Beebe and Ewing started at the same place, the same university, the same era, different choices, different outcomes. One chose Rockefeller, one chose plant-based treatment, 700 patients, 12 plant ingredients, 1 lawsuit, and 100 years of silence. Thanks for watching. There's more to explore at theforgottenpress.com. And if you want to hear more stories behind the headlines History Forgot, subscribe to The Forgotten Press. I'll see you in the archives.